Ladies and guys who have done some absolutely cringe-worthy shit to impress a woman, Andy here, author of the best Tinder guide on the internet. This is the Kill You're in a Loser show. So I'm going to talk about some cringe-worthy fucking shit that I did a couple of years ago. It was pretty much at the start of, it was just after I broke up with my second girlfriend. I had just started to find self-improvement. So I found the Good Looking Loser website, which is where I did most of my self-improvement and learned how to talk to women and all that sort of stuff. And at this stage, I was mostly working on making more friends. That was what I kind of cared about. I hadn't started talking to women yet, but I was kind of like half-heartedly trying. And so I went to a meetup group, which is my favorite fucking website. I talk about meetup all the goddamn time. It's a website where you make friends. It's free. There's events. I pitch it all the time. Meetup should probably fucking pay me money with how often I mention it. But I went to this one group that was like a social group. And so we would go and like watch movies. We'd go and eat food. We'd go and drink. We'd basically hang out. We went like trampolining one time. Actually, a couple times. That was fun as fuck, by the way. Fucking love trampolining. And there was this one chick that, like, looking back was not particularly attractive, but like, I mean, she wasn't hideous, but like, she was cute enough. And so after like the 10th time I went to one of these meetups and like the 10th time I saw her, I don't know, we're kind of just like all drinking and like I hadn't had a lot to drink, like maybe one or two beers. So I was mostly sober and we were having like a dinner and I kind of just like, it was awkward as fuck, but I give myself credit for being able to do this back then. Again, remember, this was like before, this was when I was like a fucking normie, when I hadn't done any sort of like getting laid shit. I had no fucking clue what I was doing. I can't actually believe I had the balls looking back at this now. But I I made sure I talked to her. And even that was like fucking terrifying for me at the time. I felt like a big stud just being able to even like small talk with her for like 2 hours. And then at the end of the evening, I thought, okay, I'm going to be a big fucking like stud here. I'm going to be a player. And I was like, I was nervous as hell. I was shaking like fucking crazy, but I was like, yo, let me grab your, I was trying to like puff my chest up and shit. I was like, yo, we should like grab a drink or something and do something together. Like, what's your number? And she's like, she says yes. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, she said yes. Oh my God, what do I do now? I'm freaking out. I'm like, fuck, I've never gotten this far before. I don't know what to do. Like, I'd had girlfriends before, but I'd never like hit on a chick like the two girlfriends that I had before that. It kind of just like accidentally happened. We'd been like childhood friends and we'd known each other for a long time. It kind of just like happened. And so this was the first time I'd had the balls in person to be like, yo, hey, let's grab a drink. And she says yes. And then in my head, I'm like, fuck, what if she only wants to be friends or something? What if she doesn't know? Like, obviously looking back, when you say to a girl, let's grab a drink, she knows that means, oh, okay, this is a date or this is sex or this, you know. But I was I was so fucking nervous for the date, guys. You have no idea. And it's so fucking cringeworthy everything I did. I tried so fucking hard. And I mean, like, good on me for trying back then, but I did all these weird, like, I guess I'd started reading some pickup artist shit at this point in time. But like, and I think I'd also started reading The Red Pill. And they had all these like tricks and shit that you had to do on girls. Like they said when you first meet a girl, when you first meet a girl, I can't believe I'm about to say these words. You should grab her tightly and like give her a hug and then like lift her up in the air because it shows dominance. And so I tell this woman to meet me. And she's like a 30-year-old woman, by the way. I was like 28 years old at this point. And so we meet outside this bar. I told her I was going to take her to this like super secret, super cool bar. We meet outside this bar. And like in my head, I got there early. I got there like 15 minutes early because I don't know why, but I really wanted to make sure I did this like picking her up in the air thing because I thought it would be like alpha. And so I wait for her to get there, and the whole time I'm talking myself into it. I'm like, I have to pick her up. I have to pick her up. Thank God she was really skinny. She was really fucking petite, so she had a really good body. But I was like, I have to be able to pick her up, and I was like talking myself into it. I was like, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to pick her up. I was so fucking terrified. And then she rocks. I see her walking towards the bar, and I'm like, oh my God, here it is, game time. Get like showtime. I have to do this. I have to pick her up, and like, I hesitated so fucking. I hesitated so fucking much. But in my head, I was like, it's fucking beta if you don't like pick a girl up. Like, that's what a beta male would do. Like, I'd be a cuck if I don't pick her up. So she hugs me, like to say hello. Like, I put my arms out to hug her. And I kind of just. It's so fucking inhuman. Like, I wasn't being a human. I was trying to be like a weird fucking pickup artist robot. But I was like, she let go of the hug. And then I was like, no, you didn't pick her up. So I grab her again and I just like pick her up, like lift her up in the air while hugging her, and she kind of like lets out. It wasn't like a scream, but it was like a squeal, like like what are you doing? Like, why did you just grab me and pick me up? So I put her back down, and then we're both just like looking each other in the eyes, and I'm just like awkward as fuck. I'm like, anyway, how are you? And she's just like fucking awkward as well. It's like so fucking cringeworthy. I don't know why I thought you had to like pick a girl up. I don't know where I learned that. It was somewhere in the Red Pill or Pickup Artist or something. But I was like, she'll think you're a fucking beta male if you don't do that shit. And seriously, I was outside that bar for like 15, 20 minutes waiting for her to get there. I got there so early so that I could make sure that I was there first, so she'd have to walk to me. So I don't know why I thought you can't pick her up if you get there after her. But for some weird reason in my head, I was like, I have to get there early and pick her up. So that was like the start of the cringe. And then the hardcore cringe is like, we go into this bar, we're having drinks. Man, we must have been there for like 2 hours. But I was so like in my own head because I was so terrified. The whole time I'm like, I got to kiss her. I got to hold her hand. I got to touch her. I got to invite her back to my place. I couldn't do any of that shit. I was beating myself up the whole time. I was like hating myself for it. But whatever, I was nervous. But at the time, I didn't even think I was nervous. I was just like, I'm a pussy. I'm a loser. I was like beating myself up like fucking crazy. I wish I had been on like the Good Looking Loser forums or even my own forums. Like, I wish something like that had, like, I'd known something like that existed, because I would have been able to post all this and everyone would have said like, dude, don't beat yourself up. Like, you gave it a good try. Like, have another date and try again. Like, but I just thought I was a loser. I was like, I'm a beta male. Like, I can't touch her hand. She's probably thinking I'm a fucking cuck. Like, she probably thinks that I'm gay. Like, all this like fucking negative talk in my head. But she seemed to, in hindsight, looking back, she seemed to have a nice time on the date, right? But at the time, I was just like, man, she probably thinks I'm a fucking beta male. Like, yeah, I'm sure that's what she's thinking, you fucking retard. But anyway, so we had a date for like 2 hours, and then I say, finally, it's like getting late. It's like 10 p.m. or some shit. And I'm just like, whatever. Like, there's no way we do anything. Like, I fucked this up. It's way too late. She's probably in her head thinking like, oh, this is a nice date. But like, I'm in my own head thinking like, I'm a beta male. I'm a cuck. She probably thinks I'm a fucking cuck. And so I walk her back to the car. And so we're walking for like, it was a long way away. We had to walk for like 20 minutes to get to her car. And the whole time I'm like, man, I should just kiss her now. I should hold her hand. I should do something. And like, I'm waiting for the perfect opportunity. And of course, the perfect opportunity is like right this fucking second. The second you think about kissing a girl, you need to kiss her. Even if that's 10 minutes into the day, I don't give a fuck. Just kiss her. Just try and kiss her. Hold her hand. Whatever you got to fucking do, right? But I was waiting for the perfect moment. And so the perfect moment didn't come. Or there would be, what happens is, there will be a perfect moment, but then you'll pussy out because you'll just give a reason why it's not the perfect moment. Like, oh, there's someone over there in the distance and maybe they'll see me kiss her. Or, nah, she's not facing exactly the right angle towards me, so I can't kiss her. If she's not facing you, here's a tip. Say, hey, stop for a second. And she'll stop. And then you just gently hold her chin and kiss her. But whatever. I was nervous. I was inexperienced. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And so we walk all the way back to her car. The whole time I haven't held her hand. I'm just in my own head. The shit that I was saying in my head at this point in time. Like, I'm so glad I don't beat myself up anymore like this. My head is nice now. I only say nice shit to myself. But back then, man, I was just saying the most horrible, evil shit to myself. I was beating myself up. So we're back at her car. And then finally I have the balls to fucking kiss her. But I've left it till now to fucking kiss her. And so I give her the most awkward fucking kiss of all time. Like, I basically like launch my mouth onto hers, like terrible kiss, because I'm just like trying to get it over with because I'm just so fucking awkward and nervous. And she like, I won't say she like pulled back or anything, but I think she was just taken by surprise. And then she kind of like smiled a little bit, but I just took that as like, oh, she fucking hates me. But at that point I was just like, whatever. So I was like, do you want to come back to my place? Like, awkward as fuck. And she's obviously like, she looks at her watch and she's like, it's actually 10:30 and I have work tomorrow, so like I can't. And I was like, heartbroken by that. Now, if that happened, I'd be like, well, yeah, because it's 10:30 at night, dipshit. Like, of course, like, why would she come back to your place? She literally, it was a weeknight too, so it's like she does have work tomorrow. It's 10:30 at night. Why would she drive all the? I lived across town too. I made the mistake of not meeting her near my apartment, so it's like she's not gonna drive like an hour or half an hour or whatever it was. And then I think she had a long way to drive. She drove all the way to see me as well. Not to see me, but like into the center of the city so that we could grab a drink. So she had to, she's looking at her watch going, it's 10:30 at night. I'm not going to come back to your place and have sex or something until midnight and then have to drive like an hour home. So perfectly reasonable that she didn't want to come back after I left it this late to make a move. But I just, at the time, I didn't know any of that. I didn't think any of that. I was like, oh my God, see, I am a beta male. She knows it. She thinks I'm a fucking disgusting cuck. And so, it makes me fucking cringe to think about it. But I took that so to heart that I never texted her again. I just tucked my legs between I tucked my tail between my legs and I was like, I'm a loser. Like, she doesn't want to talk to me. And I feel bad for this woman in hindsight because she was probably disappointed. She probably had a decent time. Yeah, I kissed her awkwardly and she probably felt a bit like, oh, why didn't he make a move sooner? But, you know, I awkwardly kissed her at the end of the day. She was probably waiting for me to fucking text her again, at least to say I had a nice time. I didn't even send that. I didn't send anything because I was so convinced that she thought I was a fucking loser. I was so ashamed that I was like, I can't even text her. I can't. She probably hates me. And the funny thing is, we saw each other at multiple meetups after that because we were both in the same group. And so we'd go to events and she said hello to me several times. And every time she did, I'd be like, oh, she's probably just being nice to me. She's probably like, she probably hates me. And so I would just like awkwardly be like, hey, and then walk away. I feel bad for this woman in hindsight. I actually feel fucking bad for her. And I wish I had known that at the time. I wish I had had some sort of community or someone to fucking tell me that I was being a dipshit and I should text her. Because I genuinely thought she fucking hates me and she's just being nice and she probably thinks I'm a fucking loser and a beta male and all those like ridiculous terms. But this poor woman was probably disappointed that I, didn't text her back. Basically ignored her every time we saw each other in public after that at meetups. Probably broke it. Well, I wouldn't have broken her fucking heart. She wasn't invested in me. But like, probably hurt a little bit. She's probably like, oh, fuck, did I do something wrong? Like, what the fuck is this? So this is one of the reasons that I, a lot of the time, tell you guys to take a deep breath and start like thinking, let yourself think about what the woman or the girl might be thinking. Like, don't be so in your own head, convinced that you know you're doing a bad job or like, no, I'm definitely a loser. I'm definitely fucking this up. You don't know what's in her head. She might be sitting there thinking like, oh, I'm having quite a nice time. I hope I'm doing a good job as well. I hope he likes me. I hope he doesn't think I'm a loser. And so when you can take yourself out of your own head and think about what she might be thinking or how she might be feeling, it gets you to stop like over-analyzing things and beating yourself up. Because when you're in your own head beating yourself up for this shit, you're not living in reality. You're living in a make-believe fairy tale where you're doing, not fairy tale, but like a make-believe world where you're doing everything wrong and you're a fuck-up and you're a loser and this, that, and the other. And that's probably not reality. She probably doesn't think that you're a loser. She probably fucking wants you to kiss her and make a move on her, but you're just in your own head convinced that she doesn't like you or that you're such a loser or you're doing a bad job of this date or no girl would ever want you. So try and take yourself out of your own head. And the best way to do that is by thinking about how she might be feeling. So that's my cringeworthy story. What I want you guys to do is leave a comment below and tell me your cringeworthy stories. I want to hear some really bad cringeworthy stories, like maybe times where you didn't make a move on a girl or you did, but it was awkward or you were beating yourself up. I've heard some amazing stories from some of you guys where you say like, I had this girl on my bed for like 2.5 hours and, I didn't make a move on her because I didn't think she was into me or I thought I'd fuck it up. And it's like, she was literally, I had one guy who talked about how he was naked. A girl was naked on his bed and he didn't make a move because he was like scared that he would ruin it. And it's like, she's naked. What are you going to ruin at this point? Like, come too early? Who cares? Like, that's flattering, if anything. So I want to hear your cringeworthy stories. Leave a comment below. As always, go out there and let's all go crush our goals together.